Hey everyone, welcome to this week's live Q&A session for Freedom Builder Bootcamp. I'm Greg Mercer. I'm joined by Rolando. What's up, man? How's it going?
Hey Greg, how's it going, Freedom Builders?
You guys know how it works by now. Drop all the questions you have for us in the chat box, and Rolando and I are here for the next hour to answer every question you give us. So we've already had some drop in here.
Yeah, we
All
got
right,
William
take it
has
away.
the first question lined up here. It says, when looking for suppliers, I have found that several manufacturers are selling on Amazon. Would that scare you away from a product? What are your thoughts on this, Greg?
Yeah, I would say that it does not. By the way, hey William, what's up, man? It doesn't scare me away from it, and it's actually even sometimes hard to determine whether or not it's the manufacturer that's actually selling it on Amazon. I used to think that if it was the same photo on Amazon as it was like on Alibaba, that it was the factory selling it. But a lot of times they just rip off the pictures from Amazon. It's not actually that factory. Other times they really are selling on Amazon, but it doesn't really deter me that much because pretty much any product you sell, there's going to be other people selling it. So it's like, who really cares if it's the factory or someone else selling it? At least that's kind of the way I think about it. Something you could say about that is that they can be more competitive on price since they're manufacturing it, but I don't know, I wouldn't worry about it too much.
All right. Looks like Rob has the next question here. He's asking, what will affect your account health or your ranking?
Take it away, Rolando.
Typically, the good thing about when you're doing FBA, fulfillment by Amazon, is that a lot of the issues that could affect your account health, like on-time delivery, um, customer service, all that, is for the most part handled by Amazon. So you solve that problem. The main things that could affect your account health is, of course, if the images that you've taken don't really match the product and you start getting really low review ratings, get a lot of returns on your item, that will definitely impact your account health. So you just always want to make sure that you're very honest and forward, and in your description, in your images, as well as what the product quality is like. And as far as ranking, I think it directly ties in with that, right? It ties in with your keywords that you're using, and is that your correct and ideal target audience? So you want to make sure that when you're creating your listing, use Keyword Scout and build your listing out using the most appropriate keywords for your product, not only in your title, in your description, but also on the back end. And so make sure you have keywords in there as well. What I like to do is I try to put my best keywords first, above the fold, basically above, like when you first land on the product. So you want to be able to see that the title has all these has your best keywords as well as your bullet points, then your description, and then any keywords that I can't really make work in my listing, those I put in the back end. So that's they don't necessarily have to make sense. Like they're just separated by a comma. So have at it with that.
Cool. No more questions in the chat box, so while we wait for some more to come in, I'll grab one out of the Facebook group. RLPV asked, what's the typical deposit required for an initial order? The vendor's asking for an 80% deposit, and I think that is too high. 80% is definitely on the higher end. I'd say like 60-40, maybe 70-30 would be most common. It does depend on the product. Some products have a higher cost for raw materials, and those it's more common for 70-30 or maybe 60-40. On items that are require typically like more labor but less raw materials, oftentimes you can get 50-50. Now, the first order expects kind of like the worst payment terms, and then after you build a relationship with the factory, you let them know that you're serious and you're placing these reorders. That's when you can usually expect better payment terms and put less of a deposit down up front. But if I was you, I'd probably try to ask for at least 70-30 or 60-40.
All right. It looks like we don't have any questions yet. So we can continue on the Facebook feed. I have a question here by Rob. asking what happens if you run out of stock and cannot restock for a while. Does it affect your account health or your ranking? It just the simple answer is doesn't necessarily affect your account health, but it does impact your ranking. Of course, the longer you're out of stock, your competitors, it gives them the opportunity to kind of move up and into that position. So that's why at all costs try to avoid getting out of stock. One way to prevent that is you could raise the price. That's one way, so that it kind of hedges against selling out too quickly. And that's a technique I use. I'm trying to think if there's anything else you could do to kind of. Do you happen to have anything else to add to that, Greg?
I think that pretty much covers it. Yeah, I mean the main gist of it is just try not to, because it hurts your rank, right? But it's not a huge deal if you do run out of stock. I think that's it. All right. No more questions in the chat box. Drop you all's questions in the chat box. We'll be happy to answer them. Till then, we'll look for more questions inside of the Facebook group. Jacob said, thanks for the Jungle Scout team and fellow entrepreneurs. I gained so much value from our time together during this bootcamp. My first 3 listings are now ready. Congratulations, Jacobus. Our motherland business story starts on the image, then continues through these moments. We've built a business that takes beautiful photography through South Africa. Oh, you just wanted to share them. Thanks for sharing them, Jacobus. Rob asked, when creating a listing, how many words can you put into the keywords search term? Do you remember off the top of your head, Rolando? I would have to check. The back-end search terms.
Oh, the back-end search terms. I believe it's 200, but yeah, let me confirm that real quick.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, try to put as many as you can in there. Amazon will kick it back, but it's not a ton. 200 characters sounds about right.
Yeah, and what I would do is I would avoid repeating keywords. Absolutely. You've got a limited amount of real estate, so try to avoid it throughout. So don't repeat it in the title. Don't repeat it in the bullet points. Just use it once. And obviously, just remember, there's always on the other end is a consumer, right? So when people try to keyword stuff, sometimes these listings don't even make any sense. And that's terrible on the end of it's going to hurt you when it comes to conversions. So yes, you might be ranking for that keyword, but when it comes to a conversion, person lands there, they can't even understand what the bullet point is trying to convey. So I would just be careful. If there's a keyword that you really want to use, but it makes no sense in the listing, then like I said, that's definitely why you want to utilize that real estate, the backend keyword search terms section.
Rob says, super excited to launch. My product is in transit to Amazon. Congratulations, Rob. That's very exciting. Let us know how it does. Max said, when running out of stock, if I switch to FBM from FBA, would it help? Short answer, yes. FBM, so it's fulfillment by merchants, so instead of fulfillment by Amazon, you're fulfilling it yourself. Those don't typically convert as well because it's not going to be Prime eligible. So yes, you would still make sales, but expect to make a lot less sales because those usually convert more poorly. All right. Jacobus says, hey guys, I ran a test PPC auto campaign for 4 days. 29,000 impressions, $114 spent, 1 sale. ACoS was 425%. Please let me know if these numbers are out of the ordinary. I was thinking of lowering my price in order to get a better conversion rate, or should I give the campaign more time so that I can optimize keywords, etc.? All right, so when you initially run auto campaigns, you can expect like fairly poor results. I talk a little bit about this in the Freedom Builder Bootcamp, or I talk a lot about it because Amazon's trying to show your product for all these different keywords, but really only some of these keywords are going to perform well for your particular product. So the benefit of running the auto campaign is you can start to find out what keywords do perform well for your product. And then the keywords where it's profitable, you can put those into a manual campaign, because with a manual campaign, you can choose which keywords you want to adjust the bids on. So what you'll find in there is you'll have, some some listings will have, some keywords will have multiple clicks, like 5 or maybe 10 clicks with no sales. And those would be good candidates to add to the negative keywords and then add those inside of a manual campaign. Also, if it's a brand new listing, brand new listings typically convert worse because they don't have many reviews. So yeah, and then I guess one last thing I would say to you is keep in mind that the reporting for the sales is typically delayed like 24, 48 hours, but I think it can be delayed up to a week. So like if someone adds it to their cart but then doesn't purchase for an entire week, it waits, or it takes that long. So you might find that if you check it like tomorrow or the next day or the next day, that you'll actually have more sales than just one. But yeah, I mean, I think your results from your initial test were probably like about average, or kind of what you can expect for the initial one.
All right. Circling back to that question that earlier from Rob about how many characters for the backend search terms, I confirmed it's 250. So 250, just spaces, no commas, 250 characters. So just be mindful of that, but definitely utilize every character if possible.
All right. No more questions in chat, so I'm going to take one from the Facebook group. Savan says, hello all. During launch and beyond, does requesting a review from a seller through Amazon Seller Central request a review button and through the Jungle Scout email campaign coincide with each other? For example, if I click to request a review in Seller Central and an automatic email requesting a review was fired automatically from Jungle Scout, what happens then? Both of those emails will get sent to the customer, and I think that's fine. There's no problem with requesting a review multiple times from a customer. So that's essentially what you want, is what it will happen.
Yeah, we're running out of questions here, Greg.
Here's another one from Savan. It says, hey, I just launched less than a week ago. I'm getting some sales 2 to 3 per day. Check the Jungle Scout Chrome extension. My product shows next to it. Monthly sales cannot be estimated because Amazon does not rank it in a parent category. Any idea why it's not ranked in a parent category? Is it because of a fresh launch or something else more sinister? This typically happens either with, products, let me back up. Some products on Amazon, it's probably less than 5%. Amazon never gives a bestseller rank in the parent category. So the sales cannot be estimated. These are typically electronic products, but there are still a few other products that for whatever reason, Amazon doesn't do that. There is a possibility Amazon will put you in a parent category after you've had a few more sales, but what's more likely is you just happen to have one of those styles of products that Amazon chooses not to give a bestseller rank to. So it's nothing sinister. It's nothing you need to be worried about. It might actually even be a little bit beneficial for you because now no one really knows how well your product's selling, like your competitors don't.
All right. Rob asks, is this our last coaching call? No, Rob, that's the good thing. We have one more week with you next week. We do have a scheduled coaching call for 5:30 Eastern time on Tuesday of next week.
Let's see what else is in the Facebook group.
Max asks a question here while you look through there, Greg. It says, in Keyword Scout, can you please explain what it means and how to use those columns, ease to rank, relevancy score, recommended promotions?
Sure, happy to do so. I'll share my screen. Let's do our yard signs. All right, if you're, so let's see, which ones did he ask for? Ease to rank,
relevancy score, and recommended promotions.
Okay. So recommended promotions is approximately how many sales you need to get per day, or like how many coupons you need to give out for those first couple weeks in order to rank in the top few spots. So it's like a gauge of how competitive it is. Ease to rank is a score that determines something kind of similar to the number of promotions, but this one is essentially like how many other people are using this particular keyword in their title And that's a signifier of how easy it is to rank for that particular keyword. Because if you chose that keyword, you put it in your title, Amazon recognizes that, and it's more likely that they'll rank you for it as opposed to the competitors. Relevancy score is a gauge of how relevant or similar the keyword is with the one that you typed in. So corrugated plastic sheets, it has a low relevancy score at 73, which shows me that it's still a little bit relevant. Like, people have still searched for corrugated plastic sheets and purchased a yard sign, but it's not as relevant, for example, as this one's 360, which says sign stakes. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense.
And we're out of questions again. Any other questions here, guys? How's it been going? How's the launch been?
Yeah, I would love to hear about everyone's launches. I'm just reading more out of the Facebook group here. We got one from Deborah that says, I have a shipment ready to go from China. I finally got a cryptic email from my supplier saying that home quarantine was in place in much of the country, despite what we hear from the news outlets, and that their workers haven't been able to go to work. Has anyone else gotten this info? Yes, we have. I know that there are still only a relatively small percent of factories that are back to work. I don't know exactly what it is. Maybe it's like 50% now. So and there are still a lot of industries that are essentially still kind of like shut down. So yeah, it's really fascinating. We actually have some of Jungle Scout employees in China helping provide support there, and they kind of give us on boots on the ground type reports. And unfortunately, yes, there still are a lot of people kind of in self-quarantine.
A couple questions. I don't know if we missed these, but they appear to be like on the regular thread. It says, are you guys, Max asked, are you guys deciding already when you're going to host the long shot live session? I'm talking about 2 to 3 months from now. So I think this is like the follow-up, if we've pinned a date for the follow-up. We haven't pinned a date yet, but definitely probably would be best to just kind of next week we can announce when the final or when the follow-up live coaching session will be. So we'll pin down.
Also, just keep an eye on the Facebook group because there's definitely posts about it in there.
Yeah. Kate says, launched Friday, going smoothly. Navigating PPC world is new and exciting. I keep rewatching Freedom Builder vids to help figure it out. That's awesome. Congratulations, Kate. That's always exciting here. PPC can be fun. And I know it seems at first, it seems like it could be a little overwhelming, but once you get the groove of things, it's a lot of fun. I personally enjoy it. Jacobus says he sent a DM with a product idea. Will you please check it out and let me know what you think about the possible opportunity?
Yeah, I'm looking at my DMs right now. I don't know why I always have this problem, but I don't see any from you right now, so we'll give it a minute and see what happens. Yeah, I don't see it in there.
Max talking about how. Oh, you got it?
Yeah, sure. Max, the biggest problem here is that most of the people have not launched anything yet due to the China delay, so people do not have questions yet. Yeah, we understand that, Max. It's I understand the frustrations associated with that too, right? None of us could have ever guessed in a million years that a bad virus would kind of put China, essentially shut down part of China, right? So, yeah, we'll let us know if you do have any questions, and like we said earlier, we'll check back in with you guys over time. We'll do another one in a couple months. As we've always said, and as I think all of you know, our goal really is that everyone in the Freedom Builder Bootcamp launches these successful businesses, so we're here to help. Wow, Max said he ordered 12 samples. Nice job. That's awesome. 7 haven't been set, which of course is frustrating, but 12 samples, that means you're going hard. I like it.
Some of those 12 samples, Max, have one has one impressed you more of the what is that? 5 that you have so far? Kathy asks, in the product tracker, I've been unable to get the products to expand so that I can see the sales chart. Any ideas what is wrong?
Let me just share my screen real quick. I would make sure, on the overview, this is like the sum page, you're not able to click these because this is just the overview of that particular category. But when you're actually on one, it's just clicking this little button right here. If that's not, so make sure you're clicking, the down arrow, not just anywhere. If it's not working, I would probably, the first thing I would try is to sign in with a different browser. So for example, if you're using Chrome, maybe try to sign in with Safari or, Internet Explorer or whatever else, see if that works. Alternatively, you could try clearing your cookies. If it still doesn't work, I'd recommend reaching out to support@junglescout.com. They're probably better at troubleshooting this type of stuff than what I am.
All right, let's see what we got here. Oh, so Max said, he followed up. He says that 3 of the 5 samples are super bad quality products.
Well, it's a good thing you ordered samples. It's an important thing to know. That's the reason it's so important to order the samples. It's good. Let's see. We have one from the Facebook group from Manuel Islam. He says, if I send an FBA shipment to Amazon warehouse, how long will it take to be in stock? I mean, after receiving the product from the supplier. After it lands at Amazon's warehouse, it's usually only, I'd say 24 to 48 hours. During really busy times, so like around Black Friday and Christmas, it unfortunately can be up to like a week or 2, which stinks. But typically it's only like 24, 48 hours. And a lot of times what you'll see, let me actually show this to you guys because I know this is a common thing people have is, so right here I can see how many units are available. And if you click it, you see some information. Actually moves a little bit. Oh, cool. You see some information that says, how many are available, inbound, reserved, etc. What a lot of times happens is you'll see that like, oh, cool, like my shipment just arrived. I had like 10 in stock, and then it'll go back to 0. But if you click over at reserved, a lot of times what's happening is like they'll land at one warehouse, and then it will say like FC transfer. So they're transferring them to a different fulfillment center. So don't be shocked if that happens. Usually, even if they transfer your whole shipment to different fulfillment centers, there's usually some available like the next day or 2 days later, but you might not have all of your inventory available for up to like a week or so. But that usually doesn't really matter because, as long as you have some in stock, it's fine.
All right. Jacobus asks, within the FBA profit calculator, please explain the referral fee again. So the referral fee is, it's a percentage, it's like a commission that Amazon charges. Overall, it's if I'm not mistaken, it's just directly related for using Fulfillment by Amazon. So it's going to vary based on what you price your product at. It's a percentage of the sale or of the price per unit. So that's why that can fluctuate.
See what else. All right, let me see if we can find some more in the Facebook group. Christopher asks, does my storefront or seller name need to match the mark that I'm applying for? No. the storefront or seller name has nothing to do with the brands that you're selling or the products that you're selling. So it does not need to match the trademark that you're applying for, no problem. Yeah, he also said he's doing the Amazon IP Accelerator. Most of the information from the vetted law firms keep asking for this. I think they're just asking for this because they're going to provide it to Amazon to let Amazon know that, I guess, like who you are so they can register brand registry with you.
Just to add to that referral fee, it's dependent on the category that you're in as well, the percentage that you're going to be assessed essentially. Anywhere from 6%, as low as 6%, all the way up to 15% is what Amazon charges. So just be mindful of what category you fall in, and you can kind of figure it out. You know what that percentage is going to turn out to be. Let's see. No more questions, huh, Greg? Trying to dig through here to find something.
Let's see. Through. This one says, another one from Simon said, in my Seller Central, I've created the list with the guidelines, but what I got was a parent product and the 4 variations all have different ASINs. All right, so that's good. Each variation will be a different ASIN. Then he said, the biggest trouble I am facing is the fact that I can't change the title name. I got a long message. This does not belong to this. Change to ASIN and then you're good to go. So how do I fix the ASIN and then the title of the listing, please? When there's different variations, let me just show this to you real quick. It'll be a little bit easier. So for example, this one right here has 4 variations. So, I can go in and I can click on the parent ASIN right here, right? If I go to Vital Info, all right, and this one, right, if you change this one, it should change all of the child variations. But to be honest, what I typically do is I just click on each one individually. So for example, instead of clicking on the parent right here, I would just click on the one that I wanted to change. I would go to edit right there. And then I would, same thing, Vital Info, and I would just change it right here. So that's the best way to go about doing it. All right. Got a few questions in the chat box.
It looks like Jacob is trying to DM some information. Jacob, so if you could try sending it to Greg. He can share it on his screen. Or keep it anonymous if you prefer. I don't see it coming.
For some reason, it's not coming through. My Facebook Messenger is so weird. I think it's because I have like 10,000 unread messages. So I think Facebook doesn't send, I don't think they send them all through to me.
You're congesting the airwaves. Let's see here.
Something like that. Yeah, Jacobus, I'm sorry, it's not in there. Rolando, you could try it on yours and you just keep it anonymous.
Yeah, let me see here if I can locate it.
Max said, when should I start the application for the trademark when I already have a product at Amazon? if you're confident you're going to do it, you actually don't need to wait until your product's at Amazon. You can go ahead and start it now. I would probably use the IP Accelerator program, so you can go ahead and get brand registry earlier as well. Max said, or is it better to start while the product's on the way? I would just go ahead and just do it now. How do you add a variation after you've created a listing? All right, so what you do is so for example, let's say that this is baby towel. Let's say I wanted to add a variation to it. So let's see. We go to edit. Up here, you can click variations. Let's see, you might have to, no, it's in both. You click on variations. For this particular category, they don't allow variations. But if I go to one where they do allow it, so for example, if I already made this one, I would go to variations, and then if there's only one product, it would let you add it right here. Since this is already a variation, instead I have to go to the parent, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Click on variations, and then these are all the different variations, and I can add a new one right here. So there is to it. You just save, and each one has its own UPC.
All right. Looks like I was able to look up the product that you sent, Jacob. I'll keep it anonymous so that I don't share it. Based on the initial numbers, I would continue to explore this option because as far as monthly sales, you are meeting the mark. Let's see here. The only challenge that I can foresee is you really need to run the numbers on this, because what's going to be your like profit, your return on your investment on this product, because I think that you're probably going to run into a situation where it's going to be there. It's a little bit bigger. It's a little bit more bulkier. So your shipping costs are going to increase, and even possible storage costs with Amazon. So those are the things that you really want to run the numbers on it. And like Greg says, it's always good to have that nice cushion of 100% return on your investment, because but then in this case, maybe even a little more buffer just because of the size. You might run into some the costs are going to just be a little higher. So just run those numbers and make sure they check out.
Rob said, does the variation need a different UPC code? Yes. Each variation needs its own UPC code. Also, the quote I'm getting for my product is between $263 and $350, but the sample cost is between $90 and $130, which includes air shipment. Is this typical? Yeah, you can expect to pay a lot more for samples. As you can imagine, a very large portion of this is for the air shipping. 90 to 130, I'd say it's like maybe a little bit on the higher end, but it's not uncommon to pay $50, $75, $100 or whatever for a sample.
Yeah, one time I tried shipping from the US to China, and I learned the hard way how expensive shipping can be. So it's not uncommon. It's not uncommon for it to run anywhere like from that $50 on up for that samples. And sometimes what they'll do is just the sample itself. If whoever you end up going with, they'll actually give you a credit for the sample that you purchased. So keep that in mind. You might want to just incorporate that. You're welcome, Jacob.
David asked, this was a while ago, but he said, when I initially set up my Amazon seller account, it was under my personal name, and I have a corporation. What's the easiest way to get into the corporation? What you do, I think I actually answered this a different time, but I'll show you real quickly. What you do is you go into settings, account info, and then you do, let's see, legal entity. And this is, you do update tax info, and that's when you can change your legal entity information. So fairly easy to do. I think in the US, they usually don't give you any trouble with it. I think in the EU, it's usually a bigger issue.
Cool.
How do we claim taxes? So I'm going to assume you're a U.S. citizen, Rob. Or I can give a little bit of information for both. So there's two different types of taxes that are applicable for an Amazon seller. One is just like income tax, or like the profit that your business makes. And that tax is whatever country's jurisdiction you live in or are taxed by. So for example, like in the US, like we're taxed on whatever our profits are on our particular business, okay? So that's one kind of it. The other kind of tax would be around sales tax. And this is like when someone in a state, so like I'm in Texas, when someone in Texas buys a product, Texas has a certain sales tax rate. Now, thankfully, this isn't too big of a problem anymore because Amazon collects and remits the majority of this for you. If I go under settings and go into tax settings, I can see all of the states that Amazon automatically collects and remits the tax for me. There are a few states that they don't. If you look through this list, there's not many anymore. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. There's like 10 left. Legally, you are supposed to do a nexus study to see whether or not you have tax nexus in these particular states. And then if you do, which is either judged by a physical presence or a revenue number, the amount of sales you have in that state, if you meet that nexus, then you're supposed to collect and remit sales tax. Now, that sounds pretty complicated, right? And it is pretty complicated. And if I'm being honest with you, I would say that probably only at this point, like 10 or 20% of Amazon sellers actually do that, because the laws around it, I think, are fairly, like, it's a lot of like gray area. So there's different interpretations. Some people have this firm belief that they shouldn't have an nexus no matter what. Other people think that you should, depending on your tax attorney, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if I was you, like, I'd probably just do what the rest of Amazon sellers do, and also just know that probably within the next few months or year, Amazon's automatically going to do it for all states. But, there's the facts as well as my opinion, and do with it as you wish. I'm definitely not a tax attorney or a CPA.
All right. And there is tools out there to automate this, or to help with this process when it comes with Nexus. But just like Greg mentions, it's probably best early on to really gauge what states your product is primarily selling in, and then kind of take it from there. I wouldn't rush and get nervous about Nexus right now. We're not. I got to state this disclaimer: we're not tax accountants or tax attorneys. But definitely, just kind of take it when it comes to Nexus. Just take it with a grain of salt, and slowly, little by little, just remit to the states that more than likely where you see that there's a significant amount of sales and sales taxes being assessed, or where you see that you're getting the most significant sales.
The next one's from Max, who said, hey, the sales for this product are really high, 170,000 a month, but it's definitely wrong since there's only one review and the extension shows low reviews. I do know what's going on there. Unfortunately, there was a bug where what was happening is when we collected the data from Amazon, it was showing that this was like 130 in the parent category, like electronics, whereas this is actually one of the small subcategories. So like 130 in electronics would actually sell like $170,000 per month. but this is actually in one of these small categories. This is a known bug that I know that they're going through and fixing right now. So I think if you check back in like a few days or a week, it shouldn't be there anymore, but that's what's going on. It affects a very low percentage of items, but there are a few of these weird scenarios like that.
Max asks, I guess following up on the Nexus, did I understand it correct in terms of taxes? Just let Amazon take care about it and do not care about anything else, assuming my Nexus is California.
Let me, I would say correct. So actually, Amazon for California automatically, for sales destined to the state, Amazon manages sales and use tax. So if your only state where you have sales nexus is California, then you're fine. Amazon automatically will collect that and remit it for you. So yeah, then you have nothing to worry about.
All right, let's see what we got here. All right, we're out of questions again.
Let's see. This is a question from a while ago, but Rob asked, what's the percentage of third-party sellers on Amazon? I think 52 or 55% of sales on Amazon come from third-party sellers, so more than half.
That's rising, which is good for us. Okay, Max asks, Amazon has warehouses all over the U.S. Some people, it's considered Nexus. Yes, that is correct, Max. So, depending on it's a fine line, right? It's basically in certain states, your product is basically when it hits the fulfillment center, it's spread throughout the United States, and so you may have Nexus in these warehouses where your items are physically located. And as Greg says, just take it with a grain of salt. The way to look at it is as you are growing and if you're definitely like you're picking up momentum, then it's the time to kind of reassess and look at that particular. And what I would do is I would just hire an accountant. Don't try to do this on your own because it can get really convoluted and confusing. Just hire an accountant. That's not one of those things that you really want to spend too much time on. You want to be able to spend the time in the things that matter, which is being able to launch products, scale them, and then that would be one of those things that you really want to just have automated, outsourced, and however you can facilitate that.
All right. Jeff said, I understand Amazon requires general liability insurance after 3 months or $10,000 in sales. What are your thoughts on product liability insurance? This is kind of like, so I've never heard of Amazon like suspending anyone's account or really even checking to see if they've actually had liability insurance. So this is something that I've heard a lot of chatter about it, but I've never actually seen them like check. So I think for you, this comes down to like, what's your risk tolerance? If someone were to hurt themselves because of your product, that could be a potential liability for you. So I think it's kind of like up to you, Jeff, like how comfortable are you with that? If you have a business entity like an LLC and you've properly set it up and are using it properly, that should shield your personal assets from any potential business liability. But again, this is kind of like what your comfort level is. Rob said, how much are storage fees? There are different types of storage fees. Let me find these for you guys. All right. Let's just show you all of them. This is how much it costs to store goods throughout the year, just on a monthly basis. So really, the first 3 quarters of the year, it's pretty inexpensive. during Q4, it does get fairly expensive to store goods. But then where the fees really come into place is if they've been there for over a year, which is here. If they've been there for over a year, that's when it gets really expensive, and that's $6.90 per cubic foot. So you really don't want to send in a year's worth of inventory to Amazon, otherwise expect to have to pay for it.
All right. Jacob has sent me a message here. Let me retrieve it and see what comes up. Let me know if you want to look for another question there while I set this up.
Mm-hmm. For my first product, should I order about 3 months worth of product? Yes, this is a good rule of thumb to order about 3 months. This is from Christopher. He said that, it's possible I pick the wrong product and bring it to market. That's a possibility with any product you launch. And that's why we kind of go into such depth on how to pick good products. But at the same time, you kind of do have to give it a little bit of a chance to do well, because you have to wait till you make some sales and get some reviews to know really whether or not it's going to be a good product. That's why I recommend about 3 months.
All right. Jacob, is for product number 2. I definitely use caution on that one, only because it's, it kind of violates rule number 1, right? Where you don't want something that can easily break or get damaged. That could be a big headache for you. So I would say for that, I would avoid anything like that. And then similar with product number 3, we always talk about nothing that can be on your skin, or that can, any type of chemical related products, I would avoid as well. So I would say the first option that you sent, I would explore further. The product number 2 and number 3, I would avoid.
Max said, I heard that by US law, liability is on the seller, not on the factory. In our case, Amazon is the seller. Is that true? I don't believe that's fully accurate. For one, Amazon claims to not be the seller, and this is why there are gray areas, or it's unclear about the tax nexus rule, because the tax nexus is supposed to be for the seller. Amazon argues that you're the seller, and it's all the 3P sellers argue that Amazon's the seller. So that's why the tax nexus stuff is such a gray area, and there's so much kind of confusion or argument around it. Max said, do you know of any Amazon sellers who've been sued by a customer? No, I know of 0 Amazon sellers who've been sued by a customer. I think if you were to call and talk to a lawyer right now, they would tell you that it's possible. The chance of that happening is extremely rare, but again, this kind of goes back to the liability you're willing to take on. I think how most sellers think about it is when you're just starting out, especially if you incorporate and have a legal entity to help shield personal assets from your business, they think okay, I don't have too much to lose in this business. The chances of getting sued would be extremely low. There's not a whole lot of assets inside of this current business, so I'm not too worried about it. But once you start to get bigger, let's say you're doing millions of dollars of sales per year, that's when you probably start worrying a little bit more about something like that happening.
All right. Let's keep dropping those questions. We got 10 more minutes here. 10 more minutes. We can answer several questions in 10 minutes.
Looking for answered questions in the Facebook group. We're running out.
We are all out. I think we were going into last week's questions that we already answered. All right. I'll interview you, Greg. Lightning round. All right, Greg.
All right.
What's your favorite food?
Favorite food? Man, that's always so hard for me because I like all food. How about I'll pick a style? I really like Vietnamese food. What about you, Rolando?
Ooh, good call. Good call. I love me some good tacos.
Tacos? Tacos are hard to beat.
Yeah, tacos. Kind of. I know it's generic, but I do like
I like
I
tacos.
do like a very odd style of taco. I don't know if you
Yeah.
ever had tongue tacos, cow
Tongue
tongue
tacos?
tacos.
No.
Yeah, it's really good. It's very odd, but a very good taco. My
That's funny.
favorite.
Uh,
And
Max
what's
said,
okay, we got some questions coming.
yeah. They're like, oh no, make them stop talking about their favorite foods. Quick, some questions. Max said, in California, LLC costs $800. So when people are starting out, it's not easy to get one. Max, you could consider opening an LLC in a different state. I know that's a common thing for people to do. I've never personally lived in California, but I've heard that with everything, really, California is really strict on all this stuff. So there may be a reason you have to go for California. I'm not quite sure. But if you don't have to, you can get like a Wyoming LLC for like $50. All right. Well, since we're out of questions, Rolando, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap up today's session. But make sure you guys all save up your questions for next week, and we'll be happy to answer them. If you think about them between now and then, we'll do our best to answer them inside of the Facebook group. If not, we'll, of course, answer them on next week's session. So thank you very much for tuning in, and Rolando, thanks for joining me. Go eat some tongue tacos.
All right. Have a good one. And keep
See you
crushing it,
guys.
Freedom
Bye-bye.
Builders.